The What's On guide to live stream events and shows is now available. You can find the guide on the web at independencelive.net, on multiple Facebook pages, or go direct with the web link tvl.ink/What's On Guide. Hello, my name's Steve B and I'm a presenter on IndyLive Radio. I present Music and Musings every Friday night at 7. The music, that's 70s classic rock, although we will take the occasional side road. The musings, well, they're thoughts on Scottish independence, politics and world events from my viewpoint, which is that of a grumpy old man. So join me every Friday night at 7 on IndyLive Radio, a new voice for a new Scotland.
Hi, I'm Fiona from Clackmannanshire Women for Independence. Did you know we have a podcast on IndyLive Radio? Goes out at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, repeated at 6 o'clock on a Thursday. Come and join us for some news, views, opinions, the odd poem. It'd be very nice to have you with us. And come and hear the news you're not getting. Here's some new voices for a new Scotland at IndyLive Radio.
The What's On guide to live stream events and shows is now available. You can find the guide on the web at independencelive.net, on multiple Facebook pages, or go direct with the web link tvl.ink/What's On Guide.
Film, you can watch this again, you can be part of it. It's Independence Live, yeah. A few people asked about YouTube. It'll be YouTube/Independence Live. That's where you'll find the footage.
The What's On guide to live stream events and shows is now available. You can find the guide on the web at independencelive.net, on multiple Facebook pages, or go direct with the web link tvl.ink/What's On Guide.
Hi there, I'm Cliff.
And I'm Russ.
And we're from the Veterans for Scottish Independence 2.0 group. And we're just invading your privacy today to let you know that we will be very shortly pushing our programme out on live stream to do with the veterans, their needs, as it will be during an independent campaign, the next independence campaign, and indeed in an independent Scotland.
So get yourself in gear, come and join us, and pull up a sandbag.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Wherever you stand, get the fresh view of what's happening in Scotland with iScot. Celebrate everything about our country with intelligent, in-depth insight from lifestyle, culture to puzzles, and all the opinions you'll need. Whether it's digital or by post, subscribe now to iScot.
I've never in my life been like.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Hope Over Fear annual rally with a difference. And of course, the difference is that it's virtual. We usually are in Freedom Square right now. We're usually hugging each other and shaking hands and dancing with joy. But we're in the midst of a very serious pandemic, unfortunately, which means we're meeting in unfamiliar circumstances. I'm Tommy Sheridan. I'm one of the organisers of Hope Over Fear, and I'm joined with my little niece here who's helping me to organise this event tonight. I want to say a big shout out right away to IndyLive for hosting this event. Thanks for everyone at IndyLive. They do a brilliant job. Please continue to support them because without IndyLive, then quite frankly, we don't have a media that's going to give a platform to the independence movement, because we know that the mainstream media despise us, they hate us, because they're for the British establishment. I want to start off tonight's rally by paying tribute, first and foremost, to all of those families who have lost loved ones in the course of the COVID pandemic. Our heart goes out to you. To lose someone at any time is difficult, but to lose someone in the midst of these pandemic conditions is even more stressful, as I know myself from my own family. I recently lost my father-in-law, Gus, and it's very, very difficult in relation to funerals and mourning properly. So a big tribute to all of you who are coping and trying to stick together at a very, very difficult time. But in particular, I want to send a message from Hope Over Fear to all of our health workers and all of the carers all over Scotland who have done an absolutely brilliant job in very, very trying conditions. A job which has effectively put your lives at risk because you weren't properly equipped, and you certainly haven't been properly paid either. If there's one thing is clear about this COVID pandemic, it's illustrated 100% that we've got our values upside down in this society. Instead of paying our bankers and our financiers hundreds of thousands of pounds and sometimes millions of pounds a year, we should be paying our health workers and our carers a proper wage. So a big shout out to those of you that have been supporting the 15% campaign, calling for a 15% rise for health and care workers. Hope Over Fear backs you 100%. And one of the reasons we are so determined to get an independent Scotland is so that we can get away from the Tory values, those values that puts money before morals, those values that puts dividends before decency, those values that puts profits before people. Those are not the values that we respect here in Scotland. We want to build a new and a better Scotland, a Scotland that does put people before profit, a Scotland that does recognise not just the cost of something, but the value of something. That's what an independent Scotland gives us the opportunity to build, a new and a better future for wee Charlotte here and for the millions of children like her who are going to get raised, hopefully, in a Scotland that stands on its own 2 feet and spends billions of pounds every single year, not in weapons of mass destruction at Faz Lane, but in schools and hospitals and houses. Those are the things that matter to us here in Scotland, and we have the opportunity to build that new Scotland. We didn't vote for Boris, and we never will vote for Boris. So as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome to our rally here tonight. I hope that you're tuning in. I hope you can hear us. And I'm going to pass us over to our first artist for the evening, because we've got a great group of artists and speakers set up. Please relax, sit back and listen to the wonderful Pete Scully.
Sing while I'm waiting there.
Well, we do it all. We do everything on our own. See, we don't need anything or anyone. And if I ain't here, it'll just stay here. Won't you lie with me and just forget the world? life. I don't quite know how to say just how I feel. Oh, well, those 3 words, I said too much, but I didn't know. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me your garden and bursting into life. Yeah! Let's waste time chasing cars around our head. Well, I need your grace to remind me to find my own. And if I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me your garden that's bursting into life. Well, if I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me your garden that's bursting into life. Yeah, if I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me your garden that's bursting into life. Hello! Welcome to Lanark. This isn't Freedom Square, I know, but this is all we can do at this point in time. So welcome to Lanark, welcome to the Rock and Rebel residence. Thanks for joining us. We don't have long each, so I'm just going to rattle on with it. But I'd just like to say thanks to Hope Over Fear for including me in this again. They're the guys that gave me the shot, and I've no looked back. What a cracking day it was today as well. We could have went out there. Nothing better to be in the middle of Glasgow with all the Patriots. Nothing better. But we can't help it now. So this is all we can do. So I hope you're enjoying this so far. I don't know how long you've been with me, but I'm going to do a wee song you might know. Teresa don't like it, this flag I wear. Boris thinks I'm crazy because they comb my hair. I wanna feel the country, but I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna rock, gonna roll, gonna do it almost every day. Oh yeah, I'm a Scottish rebel from head to toe, but I gotta keep it rocking everywhere I go. Everybody join us for good company. Hey, country back, be a Scottish rebel like me. I've been waiting on freedom, I've been waiting too long. Their time is over, that's why I'm singing this song. All under one banner, hope over fear, man. Forward as one, we're marching all over this land. Oh yeah, I'm a Scottish rebel from head to toe. we're sending it clear. We're rising up, boy, our time is here. We'll have a celebration, cause we're doing it our own way. And then we'll rock till we drop on Independence Day. Oh yeah, I'm a Scottish rebel from head to toe. Well, I gotta keep it rocking everywhere I go. Everybody joining for good company. Any country back, be a Scottish rebel like me. I'm a Scottish rebel from head to toe. But I gotta keep rocking everywhere I go. Everybody going to good company. Any country back to be a Scottish rebel like me. Any country back to be a Scottish rebel like me. Be a real cool cat, be a rockin' Scottish rebel like me. Oh yeah. Thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying this. Wherever you may be, we're not in the one place this time, but I think we'll be rescheduled for April sometime. Look that up, because I can't wait to see everybody again, because there's nothing better than standing up on the stage and seeing all you amazing people out there waving your flags. Right. Let's get on with it, because I don't have long. Right, you'll know this one as well. Remember, you can shout at your telly, you can shout at your phone, your tablet, whatever. Sammy called when she got the word. She said, I suppose you've heard about Boris. Well, Teresa's gone and Boris is here. Here all the right-wing racist Nazis cheer for Boris the clown. Join and go. Well, he don't know what he's doing or where he's gonna go. He said it's time for leaving, but it's us that's gonna go. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. See, Boris, let me hear you. And I'm talking. Sitting there for years just trying to cause a fuss. He tells a pack of lies and then he rakes them on a bus. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say Boris, Boris. Teresa's at him with a Bheò and her slippers. And Boris is on the news, waving a brick or a crab or a kipper, whatever he's got handy that day. Oh Boris, you're wrong. He's a first mattress that's wired to the moon. A lying posh boy Tory buffoon. That's exactly who he is. He's Boris the clown. Well, he don't know what he's doing or where he's gonna go. He said it's time for leaving, but it's us that's gonna go. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say Boris. Sitting there for years just trying to cause a fuss. He tells a pack of lies and then he rakes them on a bus. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say Boris. His stupid hair's on his eyes, so he can't see. But Scotland will soon be free. Be Boris the clown. Stick peddling your bite and steady peddling your lies. Sit back and watch the union's demise. He don't know what he's doing or where he's gonna go. He said it's time for leaving, but it's us that's gonna go. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say Boris. Sitting there for years just trying to cause a fuss. He tells a pack of lies and then he lays her on us. So we're gonna get used to just living next door. Say Boris.
think I've got a few wee minutes left, so I'm going to try and cram another one in before I get cut off. I'll be back on the night on Pete Scally Music about 8 o'clock. If you want to join me then for loads of laughs and stupid chat and more songs for hours on end. This is a song about the party we're going to have in Freedom Square when we're free. This is Independence Rocks. Great load of people on just after me, so thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Because the longer that they leave it, the harder the demographic mountain is for them to climb. And this clown said on Twitter, "Oh, let's just wait till support's at 95%, then that'll do it."
Oh. Okay, we're live.
We're live. I'm live. Hello. Hi there. Probably you heard me swearing there at Tommy, but not swearing at Tommy, but just swearing in general because I do that a lot. So hello.
Thanks very much. Sorry for Pete Scally. Pete, sorry, brother. Unfortunately, because of the way the screens are organised, I wasn't able to hear Pete, which is a great pity because I know that he's a fantastic performer and he is inspiring to us all. Before we have any more performers, we're going to have a speech from someone who's well known in the independence movement, someone who's been a constant voice of reason and inspiration
in the flesh.
Independence movement, giving us the arguments for independence. Please sit back with your wee cup of tea and listen for the next 10 minutes or so to the wonderful Paul Kavanagh Aka. Ginger Duck.
Hi there. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a strange way to be doing a rally, but I suppose in a lot of ways it's a lot more convenient for a lot of people, and it means that we can reach an audience that we maybe wouldn't otherwise have reached. So, and I think we're going to have to get used to working in a different way over the months and years ahead, because I honestly don't think that the coronavirus is going to go away anytime soon, sadly. But what I want to talk today about is how I think that, you know, we're now 6 years on from the referendum of 2014. And I honestly believe that we are closer now to achieving independence than we were even in the last days of the independence campaign 6 years ago. I mean, 6 years ago, we failed to persuade enough people in Scotland to support our cause. We had one opinion poll towards the very fag end of the campaign, which showed that support for independence was at 51%. But now, over the past few months, since January, we've had 7 opinion polls in a row, all of which show that support for independence is in the majority. And there are rumours of polls that have been done by the British government that show support for independence to be even higher, to be 56% or more. And I think in the months to come, that support's only going to grow as people realise just how inadequate and chaotic and incoherent the British government's response has been to the coronavirus epidemic. I mean, that was something that no one could have seen coming. And when it did begin, the settled view of the British nationalist commentariat was that, oh, this is going to kill the cause of independence stone dead, because Scotland will realise that we need the support of the British government in order to get through the biggest international crisis that the world has faced since World War II. Instead, what's happened is that support for independence has only continued to grow because people have realised that Scotland's perfectly capable of dealing with situations of this magnitude. And in fact, it's the British government that's holding us back. So I'm convinced that support for independence is only going to continue to grow over the next few months. And even more so because we are staring a no-deal Brexit in the face. And Scotland voted by a much larger margin to stay in the European Union than it voted against independence in 2014. And people are really angry that Scotland's views and opinion hasn't been taken into account at all by a British government, which has backtracked on all the promises and commitments that it made to us in 2014 in order to secure a no vote. And we hear an awful lot about how, oh, you have to respect the result of a referendum. Well, fine, we are respecting the result of the referendum. We haven't declared independence unilaterally. Scotland is still a part of the United Kingdom. I think it's far more important than the losers respecting the result of a referendum is that the people who won it respect the promises and commitments that they made in order to secure that no vote that they keep throwing back in our face now, because they haven't. Because let's be honest here, if the British government, if the Conservative Party and the Labour Party had actually fulfilled all the promises that they made to the Scottish people in 2014, none of us would be here now. People like you and me, Tommy, we might still be arguing for an independent Scotland, but nobody would be listening to us because the promises that were made in the vow, the promises of full-fat federalism, the promises that Scotland would be loved and respected would have been kept and people would have been satisfied with that. The reason that support for independence is growing is because people are disillusioned with a British state that takes Scotland for granted and continually lies to us and deceives us. And that's why independence is rising. It's the direct responsibility of the Conservatives for doing that. It's they are the handmaidens of Scottish independence. I was reading some very interesting figures recently. Oh, excuse me. I was reading some very interesting statistics recently about the demographic breakdown of Scottish independence. And we're now in a situation where support for independence is in a majority in every single age group in Scotland except the oldest, except people over the age of 55. That's the only age group in Scotland where there is a majority support against independence. And what that means is that the longer that the Conservatives try and defy the will of the Scottish people and say that we can't have an independence referendum, the more difficult it is that they make it for themselves in order to win a vote when a vote finally takes place. because the Conservatives might be able to say no to a Section 30 order following the re-election of a majority in the Scottish Parliament for independence next year, but they can't stop all democratic events in Scotland forever. And eventually, if they continue to block the democratic will of the Scottish people, at some point, one of those votes in Scotland, and recently it was the polling consultant, John Curtis, suggested that the British general election of 2024 could be converted into a de facto referendum on independence, a plebiscite referendum, a plebiscite election. The British government can't say no to that. They can't deny that. And if they have continued to deny the Scottish people their legitimate aspirations and rights to a referendum, by 2024, there will be a massive majority in Scotland in favour of Scottish independence. It will be, without a shadow of a doubt, the settled will of the people of Scotland to have independence. And the Conservatives will have no hope in hell of winning, because they'll be going into that vote in 2024, if indeed that's what happens. They'll be going into that vote trying to say that Scotland is better off as a part of the United Kingdom, while at the same time trying to justify their refusal to allow the people of Scotland to decide that question for themselves. And that puts them at a massive tactical disadvantage. So I honestly believe, now I don't think they're going to make it easy. I don't think they're going to just roll over right away. And I think far more important than the response of the Scottish government or the British government is going to be the response of the Scottish people to a refusal for a refusal of a Section 30 order. But I think finally there are voices within the Conservative Party who are already beginning to realise that the longer that they say no to an independence referendum, the more likely they're making independence to happen. And that the only hope in hell that they're going to have of preventing independence from ever happening is to go for an independence referendum as soon as possible, while they still have a chance of winning it. So I'm not convinced that the Conservatives will completely say no to a Section 30 order. I think we have to make sure that we show them that the Scottish people are determined. They're not, like I said, they're not going to make it easy for us. It's going to take a mass campaign in Scotland in order to make sure that we get our democratic rights. But if we're determined enough and angry enough and committed enough, that's what we will get. Because this is a battle of wills between the Scottish people and the British government. And we're the ones that invented the word thrawn. And that's what the British government is going to learn. So I'm more convinced now than ever I have been that we will get our independence. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be getting it before the 2024 general election. But one way or another, the British government is going to learn that it's the Scottish people that will make that choice, not Boris Johnson, not Michael Gove, not the Conservative Party. The people of Scotland will decide for themselves when they want that independence vote. And we will be the ones to decide how that vote is carried out, when it's carried out, and who gets to vote in it. So Scotland is on the path to becoming an independent nation. Even, there was a Conservative commentator, Andy McEleny, who wrote in the Herald today, and even he was conceding the point that the Conservatives know there's a significant body of opinion within the Conservative Party that realises that the game is up for the Union. He was actually talking about federalism, the federalism fairy that's going to wave its magic sparkly wand and make us all, part of a federal Britain, which is never ever going to happen. But what it shows is that there are people who within the Conservative Party that realise that the game's up, that they can't continue just to say no to independence forever, and that when they do say no, what they're doing is they're guaranteeing another huge big swathe of Scottish public opinion turns to yes. And we're going to see a lot more of that over the months to come. The next Scottish elections are going to be crucial. They're going to be vital to the history of this country. We have to ensure that in that election in May next year, that we have an absolute majority of people voting for pro-independence parties in order to make sure that there is no doubt whatsoever that having another independence referendum is the settled will of the Scottish people. And when we do have that vote, Scotland will be voting yes. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Paul. Very, very eloquent as always, and very informed as well. That poll, the Survation poll that you mentioned, incredible if you think from 16 to the age of 54, 59% support independence. But critically, from the age of 16 to 34, 72% supporting independence.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Remarkable.
Overwhelming.
Remarkable, isn't it?
So it's only going to go one way. It's only going to go one way in Scotland. You know, Scotland is on the path to independence, and nothing's going to stop us. But we have to be determined. And rather than people, you know, bumping their gums on social media about what Nicola Sturgeon does or doesn't do, or what Boris Johnson does or doesn't do, the crucial thing here is what we do. That we show that we are resolved and that we are determined, that we are not going to be deflected from this path that Scotland is on to becoming a better country. So,
absolutely, Paul, as you've said umpteen times, I'm sure we'll all continue to say that, of course, independence for us isn't the end of the journey, it's the start of the journey, because then we can get the powers to build the type of country that you and I and our hearts would like to see, that does say to refugees across the world that you are welcome here, that does say to pensioners that you are going to get a decent pension, that does say to our children that you are going to be valued and that you are going to get an education that you deserve. And those things, you and I know, Paul, they're only possible if we've got the economic tools at our disposal to actually implement them.
Very much so. So the next says hello. He's just in there. There he is.
Hi, wee ginger Doug. Hey, wee ginger. Listen, thanks very much to Paul Kavanagh. I hope you're all applauding at home. The Kymatiks are ready and waiting. A brilliant independence band.
Keep talking.
Keep rocking. A brilliant independence band all the way from Aberdeen. Please put your hands together for Kymatiks. They're not live yet. Oh, sorry, I'm getting the word here. They're not live.
You're going to have to keep talking to me.
you and I, like the old campaigners that we sadly are. I'm looking at our reflections, Paul, and I'm thinking, never mind the old heads. What about the slap heads? Because you and I, the Cllr, mate, we used to have some follicles, but
I'm going to find a campaigning group for the next.
Do you know, an old friend of mine, sadly, who's gone, an old friend called Bob Pro, used to be the General Secretary at RMT, and he used to always say to me, because I would give him a bit of a ribbon about a lack of follicles in his head, and he used to always say to me, Tommy, there is never, ever heavy traffic on a very healthy garden. I thought to myself, oh, what does that mean? He says, those with little follicles have got better brains. So I hope that's true.
That's what
We've got the Kymatiks ready. Right. Paul, thank you very much.
Again.
Please, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We've got more great speeches to come. But first, let's have some more music from the wonderful Kymatiks from Aberdeen.
Okay, I'm away from my dad.
them find us again. Let them find us again. We lost the link there, folks. Just let's, there we go. We're on. Let's do it.
Sorry folks, we lost the link here. We're back now though. We're the Kymatiks, here to play us a few tunes. Hope you enjoy.
Shine a light.
That song was called That Road. This next one's a new one, it's called Jock's Lament.
to a live audience. I think it's going to go down really well.
This song quite fitting. This one's called Rise Up Scotland.
Woo! There ain't no retreat, rise up, rise up, take back control, rise up, gotta let the past go, rise up, that's the one thing I know, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up.
You do that. Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks very much to the Kymatiks for a brilliant performance. I could hear some of it on the phone, and I'm sure you guys could hear it loud and clear through your laptops and your other devices. Fantastic band, thank you very much for that. Our next speaker at this Hope Over Fear rally, and I do want to remind you that Hope Over Fear is a grassroots organisation, so we do rely on your support, particularly your financial support, because we're going to come back physically in April next year. So there's going to be a PayPal account detail pop in the screen soon, hopefully. And if you can afford a couple of bob, please make a wee donation so that we can continue to pay for proper staging and for proper PA, and that we can actually secure Freedom Square for the next rally in April. One person who has spoken regularly at Freedom Square on Hope Over Fear platforms and has always given a passionate rendition of why we should be campaigning supporting independence is our next speaker, Gwen Sinclair from the Yes East Ayrshire group, who have been very active from their very existence away back in 2014. Gwen, please tell us why we should keep fighting for independence?
Well, I mean, what can I say? I mean, here we are. Well, first of all, I'll say Fes Gyrma to everybody. Good afternoon. And how strange that we aren't in the square, but here we're getting the weather that we always get for Hope Over Fear. I was thinking that this afternoon, and this would have been a superb day for us all to be out there. And it seems strange that we're not speaking to everybody, and it's, you know, it's always a really big boost to everybody to get to see, you know, what's going on, meeting up with your friends and chatting to lots of people. It's a great big boost to our confidence, I suppose. But at the moment, we're having to really just keep a focus on what's going on, basically online. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I've really felt that this last 6 months has been really tough in terms of not just the horrible situation for COVID. I mean, obviously, we are really having to, you know, pull together just now and make sure that we do everything we can to get rid of it, basically, as soon as we can. But there's a horrible feeling that, you know, we're having to sort of stay in a lot. We're not getting out. We're, you know, it's quite a tough situation to be in. But I'd certainly say that it's been a great idea to do this online today. I think the message is there. This is the anniversary weekend of the 6th anniversary it is of the independence referendum. And I suppose the talk this week has been very much about, well, what are we going to do next? But and there's been a few situations this week that I've actually noticed that I think that we should kind of look at a little bit. Well, for example, the MP for the Western Isles, Angus Brendan McNeill, had a conversation with the Prime Minister, and I'm sure some of you would have seen this. Now, what he was doing was he was pressing him to say yes or no to delivering a Section 30 order. And for anyone who's watching today that maybe has just joined the movement, which I hope there are, I mean, the polls have been looking great, so I'd imagine there's people here who are maybe not, well, basically a Section 30 order is something that the government has been telling, the UK government's been telling Scotland we have to have in order to have a referendum again. Now, obviously, what he was doing was he was pressing him on that and asking him yes or no, and he wouldn't answer. He was squirming in his chair, he was umming and on, and he was just looking really uncomfortable. Because actually, do you know, to me, watching that, and I did actually watch it a couple of times because I was quite fascinated by the body language. You've got to read between the lines. I don't think for 1 minute that actually is a necessity by his behaviour. And perhaps he's also aware of the court case that's, an impending court case about the Section 30 order that's been put together, you know, by Martin Keatings, and obviously for the people's, you know, chance to speak, I get to find out about that. So maybe he's not allowed to say, but it was really interesting. I think that's something to definitely keep an eye on. But also, if that's the case, then what is the procedure for getting independence referendum? I mean, at the moment, we have to really keep our focus on that, because day by day, the situation's changing. And I feel as though we're left with this uncertainty, and we're getting constantly, well, I'm not even going to talk about the Brexit situation just yet, because obviously we all know about that. It doesn't look good at all. It looks like Scotland's going to be crushed, basically crushed. Our democracy is going to be crushed. And if you want to boil down what actually democracy is conversation and discussion. And it's making sure that people have their say, and Scotland's getting pushed out of that. And I feel as though that in itself surely must be coming to the awareness of an awful lot more people in Scotland. I mean, we've got the situation every day where we do get to hear what's going on, and Nicola's been doing an amazing job, I think, speaking every day to the nation about what's happening. She's given a very clear message about what to do, and she's raised a huge amount of support for her doing that, and people are genuinely able to understand what they should and shouldn't do. And I feel as though that in itself has given support for Scotland, and for realisation that we're no longer a tiny wee nation that they've tried to kind of, you know, imply that we are. We're actually now something to be reckoned with, and I think we're getting a lot of respect, not just in Scotland, but in the rest of the UK. People are looking to see what's happening here, and I would also suggest outside in Europe as well. So I feel as though things are moving in a very difficult direction in terms of the virus and COVID, but I also think we're getting a lot of new supporters. So anybody who's watching today, absolutely delighted that you're here, and just keep watching all the alternative media. It's amazing stuff every day. You know, my day would consist of things like listen to Indy Truck Davy in the morning, what he's been talking about, and then I would have Nicola at lunchtime, and then I would have the Scotland at 7 to listen to as well. And I feel that's something we need to do. We need to just keep supporting, and it's certainly kept my spirits up. You know, we're not getting to meet up and chat, but these are really important medias that we've got. Stuff at IndyLive's doing IndyLive Radio as well, and there's IndyCar Gordon as well, bringing out some really interesting. They do great analyses for us, and they put it in like quite a humorous in layman's terms, which is really nice. But from the point of view of the Yes groups, I would say that it's been a tough year, yet definitely. For our group in East Ayrshire, we've had to close our Yes shop down, obviously because, you know, that was just a stipulation we had to do. And we were struggling, thinking we might not be able to open again. We were thankful that we received some financial assistance from the Scottish Independence Foundation. That was amazing to get to help us to stay open. And I'm glad to say that we actually have opened again. Our hours are basically just Tuesday to Friday, and our hours and things like that might change. So just check our Facebook page if you're planning to come down. I think we usually have a series of events on in the winter months that, you know, people can come along, and they're usually packed. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to probably do that this year. But hats off to our volunteers in it. But one thing which is really possibly be interested to find out, if other Yes groups have had this situation throughout Scotland, that we've got a massive jump in the amount of people who are following us on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram has been, I'd say really quite a marked rise. And I would maybe suggest that's because people are maybe been off their work and they've had time to read and they're really interested. But also I think it's important to keep putting out really positive and really strong content that people will want to see. And I feel as if that's a very important job we can do just now. Obviously, we can't really be out campaigning too much. But anyway, but just to say, I really am dead proud of everybody. I'm just so happy, like 6 years on, look how strong we're getting. There's nothing we are doing wrong really here at all. If we've managed to get these amazing, like 55, 56% at the moment. And I think that we're looking to, that will rise. And I'm sorry, but I'm kind of greedy. I want it to rise even higher. So anybody who's still thinking a bit uncertain about independence, do the research, check it all out. I mean, our Yes shop in Kymatiks, there's a few of them all over the country. You're welcome to go in. There's loads of stuff there. But just to say that I think that, you know, just to keep going, to keep doing what you're doing. And thanks very much to everybody. And one other thing, sorry, I just remembered, not that it's by any means least, hats off, big clap to the walkers that are doing the Freedom Walk through Scotland, just started yesterday. And we're following that. So anyway, well, good luck to everybody. And one day, hopefully, I'll see you all soon. And thanks very much, Hope Over Fear, for having me on again this year. Okay, thank you.
Brilliant, Gwen.
Bye.
Thank you very, very much. And big hand to the Freedom Walkers who kicked off their walk. I think it was yesterday, so big hand to them as well. And I think, Gwen, it's very, very important that we continue to make the point about the eight successive opinion polls in a row. First time ever, from 51% up to 56% support now for independence. It is utterly unprecedented. So we are definitely on the road to freedom. I remember 6 years ago, Gwen, in the heart of the beast at the BBC, been invited to discuss the loss of the referendum. And I remember as if it was yesterday, Joanne Lamont in the studio saying that she was happy that Scottish Labour had played its role in the defeat of the independence movement. She actually sent out a tweet during the show, which Glenn Campbell from the BBC read out. And I was disgusted at the time. And I said, Scottish Labour have to understand it's a Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhic victory. Named after General Pyrrhic, an old Greek general who once won a victory in a famous war. But in winning that victory, he lost so many of his troops that he ended up losing the war. He won the victory, but lost the war. And from my point of view, I said, Scottish Labour ought to go and read up on General Pyrrhic, because that's what they've won, a Pyrrhic victory. Because that night, Gwen, I believe they lost the heart and the soul of the working class of Scotland. Who would have thought that Labour in 2014 when in 2010 they had won so many seats and had won 42% of the vote at the general election. Who would have thought they would be reduced to a mere 14% of the vote now? That's the reality of the Pyrrhic victory that they won in 2014. We are definitely on our way to freedom. I am unfortunately doing what Boris Johnson is absolutely an Olympics performer at, and that is rambling a wee bit because I'm waiting on Chris McEleny getting online. I can see his name, but I'm not sure whether he's actually live yet. I don't know whether he's switched on his mic and his video yet. I hope he has. I'm hoping to get a thumbs up from someone that Chris is ready to address us. SMP, councillor from Inverclyde. I believe Chris may still be the group leader, but I don't always keep up with all of the local comings and goings. But if he's not the group leader on the SMP group in Inverclyde, he's certainly a very, very active councillor and someone who has been a stalwart of the movement and continues to argue that we don't wait for a Section 30 order. We don't ask permission any longer. We go off our knees and we stop agreeing that Westminster has a veto over Indy Ref 2. I'm getting indications there may be a wee bit of technical problems with Chris. So what we're going to do is we're going to go straight over to, I hope he doesn't mind me calling him one of the old soldiers. Kevin Gore has been with us through thick and thin. Through all of those early rallies. You will remember the Hope Over Fear first rallied in Freedom Square in October of 2014 to lift the spirits of the movement because we were down at the loss of that particular referendum, and we said, don't keep your heads down. Brush yourself down, get your head up, get your chest out, as Kevin wrote in one of his songs, come join the 45. Kevin, you might have to change the words to that because we're no longer the 45. We're now nearer the 55 or 56. Actually, in order to keep the running order going well, I now see that Chris McEleny is ready to go, ready to rock and ready to roll. Kevin, you are ready to sing. In order to keep the running order in tune, I'm going to invite a good friend of the Hope Over Fear campaign and all the grassroots independence campaigns to address us now. Chris McEleny, Councillor Chris McEleny of the SMP. On you go, Chris.
Good evening, everyone. Is the sound okay? Because I'm not quite sure if my system's got an issue here. I could always phone back in within 5 seconds through my phone. If you give me a thumbs up or not.
We can hear you. We can hear you. You're getting thumbs up all over the place.
Okay, good. I must say, Tommy, I was enjoying your deluge into Roman history there. I thought you might have went back a wee bit further and started talking about dinosaurs because I know you were talking about Joanne Lamont and the Better Together Labour comrades. But of course, it just turned out you had found yourself a good bit of a famous battle in something like 285 BC. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. I think, obviously, 6 years on, it doesn't feel like 6 years, but at the same time, it absolutely feels like a lifetime. And I think let's just delve straight into the first point, that basically the argument against the people of Scotland having the right to choose their own future right now is that we've already done that one time before. That seems to me to be the only argument that the Unionist parties, through a BBC Newsnight soundbite about a once-in-a-generation referendum, and we should never again be allowed to have a choice in their own future. But what defines a generation? Because since 2014, we've had 3 prime ministers. I think we've had 6 or 7 separate UK governments, with obviously the same prime minister, Theresa May and Boris, having 2 of their own governments. So, I mean, what exactly defines a generation? Since the independence referendum of 2014, the people of Scotland have re-elected the SNP to be their government with an absolute cast iron manifesto commitment to give the people of Scotland a choice in their own future. if we were dragged out of the European Union. We've been dragged out of the European Union, something that took decades to get us to the stage that we were at. We've been dragged out of that. So my question to Boris Johnson and any unionist political leader watching would be, and I'm sure there'll be a few, would be, what exactly is your definition of a generation? Is it basically the people of Scotland only should have a choice on their own future if you think that choice is what you want it to be? That's not self-determination then, that's a tin pot dictatorship, and there's no other way to describe it. And I think, reflecting back to 2014, September the 18th, 2004, it was absolutely, as the famous opening passage to the book says, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was a summer that brought the greatest ever coalition of ordinary working people, of teachers, trade unionists, of parents, of people that had been out of work for many years. Homeless people were coming from the Inverclyde Homeless Centre across to the Yes campaign shop, asking Ronnie Cowan, who's a magnificent local organiser, who went on to become a very fine MP for Inverclyde. These were people asking us to sign them up to vote for Yes, because that was the hope that they had, because they had been failed repeatedly, decade after decade, by a failed neocon UK system. And I remember one of the saddest and happiest moments in 2014 was when somebody came to vote in Gore and they had a day pass out of hospital. Someone had came from hospital to vote, and that was the first time they'd been out of hospital in weeks. And then when they went back to hospital, all of a sudden people were, this is amazing, can we get signed up to go and vote as well? And that's how important voting for Scottish independence was. And in 2014, I think it was heartbreaking, it was difficult, and of course there was days and weeks that we were angry. We were angry that we had been given the vow. We had been sold a pup by Cameron, Sir Cllr, who is now some VP for Facebook, and Miliband, who gave a good speech last week, but disappeared to the back benches. No power whatsoever to deliver on the promises that the people of Scotland were given. Promises that we knew just didn't stack up, such as, oh, don't bother voting for independence, just vote no, and then we'll get a Labour government back in 2015. And two important points. Independence isn't about what the political colour of Bute House or Downing Street is. It's about the people of Scotland having the choice to elect their own government to enact any policies that the people of Scotland ask them to do. And anybody with an ounce of sense knew that if you can't get ahead in the polls of the most right-wing, neoliberal, dangerous Tory government in a generation, things weren't going to change on an election day. So that's why I was, and I am to this day, forever disappointed that the Labour Party went into the heartlands in Greenock and Inverclyde and Lanarkshire and Dundee, which thankfully no longer a heartland. They went to housing schemes across Scotland and they lied to people. They told people in Scotland that this was a vote for Alex Salmond. This was a vote to lose your pension. They told pensioners. They put fear into their lives that they would lose their pensions. Things that we knew weren't true. I'm a councillor. I got asked last week if I could sign the authority for someone to get their pension that now lives abroad, because they paid into a system and of course they would get their pensions. And it was fear after fear after fear. And that's why they don't want a referendum now, because their argument on the European Union, it simply does not exist anymore. Their argument on, well, we can get a Labour government, well, that's not working very well either. So what exactly is the strong case for staying in the Union? Is it currency? Is it, well, we should decide that we don't want to determine our own future purely because we get it up, which is at its weakest in many, many years, and with a hard Brexit and the impact of the coronavirus, things will only get worse and worse. And I think that's why we need to now realise that one of the slogans of the SNP in 2007 was, it's time. 13 years ago, we said it's time. It's now past time. It's past time that Trident was ridden from Scottish waters. It's past time that Tory governments get to impose the bedroom tax and austerity and the rate clause in this country. And it's past time that we need to accept that in the aftermath of the coronavirus, some of the biggest decisions since the Second World War are going to be made. How do we manage the debt that we've... Well, what we should do is we should see this unprecedented crisis as exactly that. We should treat it as a war debt, something that the Second World War debt was paid for decades after it. We should just see it as something that exists so that we can continue furlough schemes, we can invest in fairer policies. I'm yet to be honest with you, I'm yet to be wholly converted to a universal basic income. I'd like people in Scotland to have the right to pursue and apply that policy if that's what we choose. But quite simply, if we stay part of the UK, it's going to be a choice of higher taxes, which I don't think the Tories want to do. We won't borrow more because that just proves that what everybody was saying when they were killing people with their austerity policies, that was a political choice, that'll prove. So what we'll see is swinging cuts to Scottish public services. Cuts to the NHS in England, which will lead to a reduction in the budget in Scotland. Privatisation of the NHS in England, which will lead to a reduction in the budget available to people in Scotland. Whereas look at Ireland. They raised €6 billion in a bond to deal with the coronavirus in a week. We don't have those powers in Scotland. If we want to borrow, we can't. We can get effectively the equivalent of a very small overdraft only if we ask the UK government their permission. We can't invest in Scotland's future. We can't choose to back up public health policies with the economic tools required. We can't make tough choices right now because we need to wait to see what Westminster are willing to do when it comes to a furlough scheme, when it comes to job protection, when it comes to people that are self-employed, etc. And I just think that the past 6 months, many of those people that were undecided in 2014, they did vote no. They didn't vote no, I never want an independent Scotland. They voted no, not right now. Brexit brought many of those people across already. And the coronavirus has shown people that actually, when it comes to independence, whether people like it or not, it is a matter of life or death. Because what we're seeing is, should we leave Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings? If we're being honest, a man that drives 30 minutes on a country road to test his eyesight with his children in the backseat of his car. Should we really leave Scotland's economy, Scotland's future, Scotland's health, Scotland's right to choose a fairer way? Should we leave it in the hands of those usurpers? No. That's why it's past time. It's time for Scotland to be an independent country, and it's time for us to campaign on that positive vision of how actually independence is the way to recover from the coronavirus, and independence is the way for the people of Scotland to get one thing guaranteed: the government they vote for every single time. Thank you. Thanks very much, Tommy, for inviting me to speak tonight.
Brilliant, Chris. It's a great pleasure to have you on the Hope Over Fear platform again. You're a wonderful friend, not just of Hope Over Fear, but of all of the grassroots independence campaigns. You're always been a warrior for independence, and we know that we can trust you. Thanks very much, Chris McEleny, Councillor Chris McEleny from Inverclyde. Waiting in the wings, patiently, ready to go, strumming, and I'm sure and hope that he gives us that wonderful song, Freedom Fighter, at some time, Kevin. I'm throwing in a request, brother. Put your hands together on your couches and your living rooms all across Scotland and maybe even the world for Kevin Gore.
Thanks, Tommy. I think you've been muted. It's me now. Give me a thumbs up, Tommy. Can you hear me? Everything cool? Cool, thank you. Right, I'm going to start with a song. It's actually the anniversary would have been tomorrow, the 19th of September, and it's for the Johnson sisters who stood against a violent mass of bigots and racists, you might recall. And although many fled, quite rightly so at the time probably, the two sisters stood there and they held aloft the St Andrew's flag and refused to move from the square. So there's a wee tribute song to the girls. Came down Glasgow town, Mandela Freedom Square, with their fascist chants and their racist rants. Hatred was songs of an age far gone in another country's war. Athenian blood and dairy woes, and the sash might follow. Well, the old John Bull, the divide and rule, trying that mob with hate, with their ignorance and indifference. They were sure to take the wheel, but bold and steadfast against that violent mass. The Joneses still and held aloft the St. Andrew's cross, a flag of nation. They did not pledge, no give an inch to the mob. They showed no fear, but they stood their ground and they cried out loud, "Oh, Salta remains here." Well, the mob they attacked, they kicked, they punched, they spat on all those who disagreed or had campaigned through peaceful gain for a country to be free. The Britannia hoard their numbers sold, soiled the Scottish air, but they could not disarm these sisters in arms or drive them from the square. For bold and steadfast against that violent mass, the Joneses stood, and they held aloft the St. Andrew's cross, a flag of nationhood. To not flinch, or no give an inch to the mob. They showed no quail, but they stood their ground and they cried out loud, "Salta remains here." Well, they took the police to intervene, march those girls away, and imprison them in the cells at night for what crime they would not say. Sarah and Sophie Johnston, remember those sisters' names, for the representative and keep fire aflame. They fired up fascist frigates to represent the past and cling to a dying union for whom the die is cast. For bold and steadfast against the violent mass, the Joneses stood, and they held up the St. Andrew's cross with a flag of nationhood. And after my flinch, not all came an inch to the mob. They showed no fear, but they stood their ground and they cried out loud, "Hail Salta remains here." Yes, the Salta remains here. Yes, the Salta remains here. The Johnston sisters. I think they're actually going to be playing the video at the end of the whole event. So please listen in. Right, thanks very much, Tommy, for the introduction to the Freedom Fighter, which is a song that I love to sing. And I'm going to dedicate this to a friend of mine's father, passed away a couple of days ago, Big John Marshall. And if anyone knows young John Marshall or little, whatever, if that's Big John Marshall, then we have John Marshall, who comes to the Hoff events and he runs the security side. He's a true stalwart, true freedom fighter. So I'm going to, this song I'm dedicating to Big John Marshall. May he rest in peace. First I saw the hooded men and the bombing crosses. I was a boy back then. The white supremacy, they terrorized me. They hung my father from a sycamore tree. So yes, I took the violence and lived by the sword. Was my way until I found my Lord. Malcolm X, George Bush, freedom fighter, Nelson Mandela, William Wallace, James Connolly, forever lives in justice. Trespass upon my land. In my defense, I took a stance and to place my people in the reservation. I'll suffer death and disease and starvation. Whenever it's treated, white man broke 300 graves. I live in a boat. Malcolm X, Geronimo, freedom fighter, Nelson Mandela, William Wallace, James Connolly, whatever there's injustice. I'm a freedom fighter. Don't be confused. Don't call me a terrorist, because I refuse to see my people oppressed and displaced because of their color, their culture, the race. Will not be silenced, will not be contained. Our people suffer for another man. Yes, I drove them from my land with the unjust ways of their king's command. Long shanks, center, vengeful force, full times our numbers and heavy hearts. Still the bridge, we routed them as the river ran red with the blood of men. Malcolm X, the freedom fighter, Nelson Mandela, James Connolly, the rebel I was executed, they called me an angel. But a martyr and the king lit the fire. I flew for a full struggle of liberation. Free their country, no for an operation. Malcolm X, Geronimo, the freedom fighter, they'll set my head. Who was James Connolly, revelers and justice. Comments. Yes, the left of my Sinclaire, you'll set my down. Who was James Connolly, revelers and justice. Always be, always have, always find me. The freedom fighter. Hope you like that, folks. Okay, to finish off, a song that I wrote just before the 2014 referendum, and I've been keeping singing it. I'm just going to keep singing it till the day comes when we win our freedom. Which, as the weeks and months go on, I'm getting more confident that it's going to happen. Especially people that have came over and joined us. A song called Independence Day. Thank you very much for Hope Over for inviting me on. Absolutely. Hopefully next time we'll be back in Freedom Square singing and speeches and getting everyone together and families and having a fantastic day. And hopefully April next year we'll be there. So please, there is a PayPal account, so please donate to Hope Over Fear for next year so we can get this one of the biggest. We'll pass the square. I look forward to coming independence. Standing on a street today, still my ear badge on. A stranger he approached me to tell me I was wrong. Said I was a dreamer, I didn't have his say. Said, yeah, my friend, I'm human. Independence Day, oh, when that day comes around, oh, come will for sure. We'll have a country, we all can show. A nation of people, where the sun is red. Government we fought for is the government we made. On our independence day. Yes, my friend, I'm a man of my independence day. I'm no anti-Bruce, Northern Irish, or Welsh. I'm just dreaming of a country. It's the beautiful world. Not the people, they have opportunity. Oh, they change and free their bills from the hats of polio. Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an independence. that stay, and I know that I am fortunate, and know where I am. Companions in Syria and Palestine. I'm just dreaming of a country. One day we'll be free, sharing our own. Who's there need for independence? Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm in a still stand on the street today, I'm still yes back home. A stranger here pushed me to tell I was wrong. Said I was a dreamer, I let him and say, yes, my man, I'll be man now. Independence Day.
Brilliant, Kevin.
Thanks, folks. The rest.
Thank you very much, brother. As always, you never let us down. You're always there.
All the best.
Come rain or shine, you're always there, whether it's the Hope Over Fear rallies or whether it's the fundraisers that are essential, you're always there. And I just want to appeal to everyone who is tuning in to this Hope Over Fear virtual rally that you continue to support those freedom fighting performers. People like Kevin, people like Pete Scally, people like Graham Dallas, people like Ted Christopher, people like Bobby, all of whom, Graham Brown Band, they're always there when we need them. So please do what you can. If you're got any money to spare and you want to listen to good music, listen to them and support their performances wherever and whenever you can. Before we have our excellent Graham Brown Band on, I just want to say just a few words to fill in a bit of the space. The independence movement is big and it's broad. And clearly there are always going to be issues of debate and discussion about what is the best path to pursue in order to deliver Scotland's independence and Scotland's freedom. We in Hope Over Fear believe that there is not just one, not just two, but 4 or 5 clear mandates now for Indy Ref 2. The SNP won the 2015 general election. They won the 2017 general election. They won the 2016 Scottish general election. They won the 2019 general election. There have been 2 votes now in the Scottish Parliament. Both votes were in favour of Indy Ref 2. That's 5 separate mandates for Indy Ref 2. Our appeal from Hope Over Fear, and we're not going to fall out with everyone in the independence movement who might not agree that this is the way forward, but it's what we believe. We believe we don't ask any longer Westminster for the right to hold Indy Ref 2. We believe we have the mandate, we have the democratic right. We believe that what we do now is we use the May election next year as the green light. Next year, you're going to have 2 votes. It's imperative that everyone in the independence movement uses both those votes for independence. You vote 1 for independence, you vote 2 for independence. We discuss in the coming weeks and months the best way to use your 2 votes. We in Hope Over Fear believe you use your first vote for SNP. They are the de facto political leadership of the independence campaign. It's not about whether you support everything the SNP says or does. It's about the fact that they are the de facto leadership You give your first vote to SNP all over Scotland. The most recent opinion polls indicate that on the basis of the first vote alone, the SNP are going to win a majority of the Scottish Parliament. But you've got to beware about your second vote. Last time, 2016, 953,000 people, almost 1 million people voted SNP with their second vote. There are 8 regions in the Scottish Parliament elections. And in 6 of those regions, the SNP won zero list MSPs. In the city of Glasgow, over 121,000 people voted SNP with a second vote. The city of Glasgow returned no list MSPs. That was 121,000 votes that weren't wasted. They were worse than wasted. They actually assisted the Unionists to be elected in the city of Glasgow. Freedom City of Glasgow, yes, City Glasgow, elected 6 Unionist list MSPs, 6 Unionists. Why? Because people gave their second vote to the SNP when it didn't count, because they won all of the constituencies. They won all 9 of the constituency seats. The latest opinion polls indicate they're going to win all 9 again, but not just in Glasgow, but in every region of Scotland. We think next May's Scottish Parliament elections should be named categorically the independence election, and that everyone in Scotland should be given both their votes to independence parties. First vote SNP, second vote to another independent supporting party. That then is the green light for IndyRef 2 no later than September of next year. No asking for Section 30 orders. We don't ask Westminster for the right to hold IndyRef 2. We tell Westminster that we're holding IndyRef 2. We politely inform them. This is a party and a government that doesn't give a damn about international agreements, doesn't give a damn about international law. If they can breach international agreements that were agreed 9 months ago, then by damn, we can withdraw from a voluntary agreement that's 300 years old. The Act of the Union 1707 was a voluntary agreement. Well, we want to voluntarily withdraw from that agreement. Every single independence party standing in May next year should have in their manifestos a vote for us is a vote to withdraw from the Act of Union, dissolve the Union, and hold IndyRef 2 in September of 2021 in order to deliver Scotland's freedom and the ability to build a new, a better, a fairer, a nuclear weapon-free Scotland. That's within our grasp, brothers and sisters. This is no longer a pipe dream. There are people who have been involved in the independence movement for 50 and 60 years, and 50 and 60 years ago it was perhaps a pipe dream. No longer a pipe dream. It's now within our grasp. Within a matter of months at the May election next year, use your both votes for independence. And then that Parliament must be compelled to hold the referendum come hell or high water. We don't take no's from Boris Johnson. We don't take any instructions from a Westminster Parliament that's outlived its usefulness. We break the chains of Westminster and we free the unicorn of Scotland and the vision that we have of every child and every member of our communities being judged not by where they were born or how much money's in the bank account, but being judged by the quality and standard of their characters and their ability to realise their potential. Every child has potential. Let's dig deep and realise that potential, release the talents that exist in what we have as the greatest resource in Scotland. Our greatest resource isn't our land. We've got beautiful land. Our greatest resource isn't our universities. We've got great universities. Our greatest resource isn't our fishing. We've got great fishing. Our greatest resource isn't the food and beverage industry. It's fantastic. Our greatest resource isn't our oil reserves or our electricity generation or our gas generation. All of that is excellent and among the top in the whole of Europe. Those are brilliant reserves. We can be a small country that's one of the richest per head of the population in the world, but it's not our greatest talent and it's not our greatest reserve. Our greatest reserve is our people. Our people. Let's unleash the potential that's inherent within the Scottish people. Let's give some freedom to those who want to build a better Scotland that actually cares for people. Instead of just a national health service, we've got a national care service as well, so that we integrate healthcare and social care, so that pensioners aren't looked after for pennies, for profit. Pensioners are looked after because it's the right thing to do. Let's integrate our health service with the pharmaceutical industry. Let's have a public pharmaceutical industry that feeds our health service instead of being ripped off day in, day out by the private drug companies. Let's have our oil and our gas and our electricity owned and controlled by the people of Scotland. Run, not on the basis of profit, but on the basis of quality, on the basis of producing the best possible, safest energy, greenest, renewable energy, a renewable industry that can be the best in Europe, but it's owned and controlled by the people of Scotland, so that we invest properly in that fantastic potential resource. Brothers and sisters, that's all within our grasp. What we've got to do, you know, we talk every year, we march or attend Bannockburn to remember the July victories of the William Wallaces of the world, the freedom fighters who gave their lives to fight for an independent Scotland. Well, we don't need to give our lives, brothers and sisters. We don't even need to lift a claymore. All we need to do is lift a wee lead pencil. Next May, use your first vote SNP, use your second vote independence, one of the alternative independence parties. If the 1 million second votes for SNP are deployed instead for independence, supporting parties and groups, we will have a parliament that's not got a narrow independence majority, but a parliament that's got an overwhelming independence majority. Think of the prize of getting rid of some of those conceited balloons, these unionists that get sent to the Scottish Parliament through the back door to talk down our country. No more talking down our country. Let's talk up our country. Let's talk up our potential for a new and a better Scotland. Brothers and sisters, hopefully the Graham Brown Band are now ready to go. I think they're a wee bit, I'm a wee bit off schedule here because they're ready, I believe. They're ready to go. Absolutely, Brown. I've got the word in my ear. Let's hear it for the absolutely wonderful Graham Brown Band.
Applause for all the artists it's been on so far. What a fantastic rally this is. This next song I'm going to dedicate to a very good friend of mine, Mr. Ian Russell. And every single rebel in Scotland. And you know who you are. You're like me. You just didn't have a beard yet. This is to Boris. Union man said that we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said that we can't have our own pot of gold. Union man said that you'll starve if you're old. Union man said we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said you'll be out in the cold and the dark. Union man said that your land has no heart. Union man said that it's all in the past. Union man, step aside, you had your chance, and watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Labour and Tory men tell us that we are too weak. As they celebrate victory won by the man on TV. Too many questions and too many answers, you see. Cheap points, fear stories and lies by the BBC. I could see the road ahead, we're so close. We've travelled so far, this time everyone knows. We must say thanks to the ones who fought for this land. Freedom for me and you, and Alex the man. And watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Stand in the square, show us you care, fly your flags. If you're a no voter, join us, you won't be the last. Forget the old days, we won't bow down to the man. Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. Oh, Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Hope over fear, well, don't be afraid. Tell Westminster Tories, Scotland's no longer your slave. Carpe diem, will you seize the day? Rip the chains from the unicorn, show them that Scotland is brave. Come on, sing along. Oh, flew to Scotland, when will we see your likes again? Have fought and died for your wee but hill and glen, and stood against him. Proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. Those hills are bare now, and autumn leaves lie thick and still. Our land that was lost now, that once was dearly held, and stood against him. Proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. Those days are past now, and in the past they must remain. but we can still rise now and be a nation again, and stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. So watch us rise into the sky, see the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Oh, Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Thank you very much.
What's the key of the next song? G.
Guys, we've got a full band live broadcast happening right from here, Planet Studio in Dundee, on the 3rd of October. It's the full band, it's the full works. Drums, bass, guitar, bagpipes, keyboards, triangle, spoons, you name it. Graham Brown Band in full. Live on our page, 3rd of October. We'll have a wee special surprise in store for you as well, so tune in especially for that one. Always the same, our CDs are available on our website, grahambrownband.com, and all our music's available to stream on Spotify, iTunes, Google, you name it, it's there, hopefully. Here's a wee song dedicated to my mum and dad. I can see the shining light of freedom in your eyes. I can see the arrows fly and the cross in the sky. I found the road where I hear the battle cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant pipes. Loud and clear, 1,000 voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Across the sea and far, the flags fly so high. For all our liberty, the fight will never die. It grows so strong, join in and sing this song. I can hear the nation tonight. Come on, sing along. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant pipes. Loud and clear, 1,000 voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. As the thunder in the fields, they echo through my mind. Takes me to another place with beauty all around. In dreams of gold, where freedom is never sold. Can you hear the nation tonight? Got up at your chairs, on your feet, clap your hands. Get everybody out of their chairs. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant pipes. Loud and clear, 1,000 voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant pipes. Loud and clear, 1,000 voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Thank you. I caught Connor on the hop there.
Yeah, secret ending I didn't know about.
Okay guys, we're pushed for time, so one more song from us and then that's on to the next artist, okay? I kinda see you, but you've been fabulous. Here's a wee song for all the Scottish rebels who will stand and fight again. I would die for my land, for my home. These words are carved in stone. We have hills and glens of gold. We can spread our wings and be bold. So stand by my side and you'll see we can live in harmony. And under the sun we will be a nation so free. Can you hear the freedom bells ring? Can you hear the 45 sing? I don't care what they say, I'm gonna do it anyway. And when their rain falls down, stand proud in your hometown. We can be a nation again, we will win. Tie your flags to the man of steel, like Wallace his sword and shield. We will walk through the fields of hell, where the clans of yesteryear fell. We can be the kings of our land. Beat the drums and raise your hand. Our time is here and now, and I can show you how. Can you hear the freedom bells ring? Can you hear the 45 sing? I don't care what they say, I'm gonna do it anyway. And when their rain falls down, stand proud in your hometown. We can be a nation again, we will win. Can you see the change we need is coming? 'Cause we need you now to stop our chances burning. Oh, they can take it all from me, but the whole wide world will see. We will win, and we will set Scotland free. Can you hear the freedom bells ring? Can you hear the 45 sing? I don't care what they say, I'm gonna do it anyway. And when their rain falls down, stand proud in your hometown. We can be a nation again, we will win. Oh, we can again. We will win. Oh, we can be a nation again. Ladies and gents, goodbye from me, from Connor.
Glasses
we will
off
win.
Where have you gone?
Brilliant, Graham Brown Band, absolutely tremendous as always. They never let us down. Some fantastic songs. They've been going so long in the independence movement, marching from the front, leading from the front. So thank you very much. We've got one more speaker, brothers and sisters, and then there's going to be some videos to end the night with. So after you've heard our final speaker, please don't turn off your receiver, but listen and watch the videos that we're going to finish with. Talking about independence warriors, our final speaker tonight is an independence warrior, someone who had the pleasure of meeting personally recently, someone who spent 9 years in the Scottish Parliament as an SNP, elected MSP, and has spent 55 years as a member of the SNP. He's been fighting for independence almost as long as I've been living, given that I'm 56 years of age. He's now left the SNP to form another organisation, but he's certainly not left the fight for independence. Dave Thompson, let us know why it is you've set up the Alliance for Independence.
Well, thank you, Tommy, for that wonderful introduction. It's really good to be on tonight. And yes, you're right, I joined the SNP back in 1965, and I've campaigned through thick and thin all that time, through the good times, through the bad times. I know what it's like to win. I know what it's like to lose. But a couple of years ago, I began seriously thinking about the whole issue of the use of the regional list vote in the Scottish Parliament. And, you know, the Unionists have been urging tactical voting for years. Up in the Highlands here, where I was an MSP, you would always get the Lib Dems saying that only they could keep the SNP out, and urging the Labour and Tory voters to vote Lib Dem to keep the SNP out, to tactically vote. So when this whole thing began to be talked about again, well over a year ago, I thought to myself, I actually dropped a wee letter to the National, and then someone got in touch with me. We got together. We found out that there were a number of people in the Central Belt interested in this as well. So we all came together on the 2nd of February this year for our first meeting. And that is basically when the Alliance for Independence was formed. And the whole idea in the Alliance is that we're not just a normal political party. We're not a party that has set up just to promote our own general policies and so on. What the Alliance is all about is independence for Scotland. And we don't have any other policies other than independence. So all of the individuals who will stand for the Alliance, and the Yes groups who will come on board through our regional groups, because Yes groups can join us, and indeed the smaller parties who we're urging to come together and work with us, to come under our umbrella, to stand under our banner, they'll be able to keep all their own policies as long as they back independence. Now, the interesting thing is, many folks said to us, you'll never get that model accepted for registration. Well, we have had the model accepted. The Electoral Commission have no problem with us, with smaller parties joining the Alliance for Independence, which we'll have to register as a party to be able to stand. So we've established that principle. So what we now need to do is get all the small parties to come together, to unite, because if we are united and we can pull the whole vote, and not just to vote, the activists and the folk who are keen to get independence, if we can get the Yes groups to come on board and join their regional groups of AFI, and of course as many individuals as we can mobilize a massive army of people who can get round the doors, knocking on the doors, delivering leaflets, doing whatever we need to do over the next just over 7 months to the Holyrood election. So we can create a very powerful pro-independence force. What we need is for people to accept and come on board and help us. Now, what's the most important thing about next year? It is the fact that I believe, and I think everyone I speak to now in the independence movement believes, it's going to be, it must be, it has to be the independence election. We've got to motivate the public out there to come out and vote for independence next year. If you look at the turnouts in previous years when independence was highlighted, the turnout in the elections is always much higher. So we intend to motivate people to come out and vote, which will benefit the SNP. The SNP, on current polling, and if we can increase the turnout, will get a massive majority in the constituencies alone. That means they'll get virtually nothing on the regional lists. And that's where AFI comes in. That's where our United Alliance comes in, that we can then scoop up a lot of the votes, the people who would normally vote SNP with their second regional list vote, and lots of yes voters who want to vote yes on the regional list, but don't maybe want to vote for the SNP. If we can get them all voting for us, all we actually need is 1 person in 8 who normally would vote SNP on the regional list to vote for the alliance, and that will give us 8 seats. If we get a quarter of the people, and there were 1 million people voted SNP last time on the regional list, and they got 4 seats, if we get a quarter of them, we'll get 16 seats. And if we can get a half of them, we'll get 24 seats. Now, we think this is a prize well worth fighting for, because imagine a parliament in Edinburgh with 70 SNP constituency MSPs, all rooting for independence. And then on top of that, another 24 alliance MSPs who are pro-Indy. That would give you 94 MSPs in the Scottish Parliament who are after independence. And by definition, that would leave you with only 35 unionists. And what do the unionists do just now? They come in there and they talk Scotland down. They try to trip up the SNP government and the coalition with the Greens when they come together. They try to trip them up all the time. We can put a stop to that. People who vote SNP with their second regional vote on the list are more or less, most constituencies, regions at the moment, wasting their votes. Backing the alliance, they can make their votes count. They can send a massive message to Westminster that Scotland and the Scottish people want independence, and we don't want unionist MSPs in our parliament. So it's a very simple concept. Our slogan is Max the Yes. Maximize the yes vote. Use the system that was basically set up to stop the SNP ever getting a majority. Use that system to max the yes. Create a super majority of pro-independence MSPs in the Scottish Parliament. What's not to like about that? So first vote, SNP, second vote, the alliance. And I would make a plea to all the smaller parties. Be bold. Come together with us. We'll all work together. We're a bottom-up alliance. We're not a top-down alliance. We want people to come on board now to help us to build this alliance over the coming months and to get a massive supermajority in the Scottish Parliament next May.
Brilliant, Dave. Thank you very much for a very, very eloquent exposition of common sense, of logic, because what you've been talking there is just fact. People may disagree with tactics and they may disagree with strategy. You're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts when it comes to this debate. And the fact is, almost 1,953,000 people gave their second vote to the SNP in 2016, and it produced only 4 seats and only 2 of the regional lists. That's simply not good enough. And I hope, and well, I was going to say, I almost said I pray, Dave. I respect everybody else's religion. I know you pray, and I know you pray a lot, and I respect you. But I hope that people see the sense in what you're saying. Thank you very much, brother. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It's been a new experience for me, and I'm sure a new experience for a lot of other people as well. Hope Over Fear is usually together in Freedom Square. We're usually jumping up and down and dancing and singing. We weren't able to do that today because of the COVID pandemic restrictions. I hope we get on top of this COVID, because it's a damned disgraceful pandemic, and it really is preventing a lot of people from living their lives the way we were meant to live lives, because we're social animals. We actually socialize with one another and we share our lives with each other, and the pandemic's stopping that. So let's get on top of this COVID, but let's stick together. Human solidarity is vital. We're going to end our night by thanking everybody who has contributed to the Hope Over Fear rally. In particular, I'm going to thank Kevin Gibney at IndyLive for hosting this whole event. He's done absolutely brilliant. Please continue to support IndyLive. They're a fantastic resource for the independence movement. We're going to finish with some videos. Please watch the videos, and please stay strong, and always remember, we're always yes.
It's a song I wrote about 5 minutes ago called Carpe Diem, Hope Over Fear.
Are you threatened by words from an empire of money and gold? Will you trade in your country's potential for the lies you've been sold? Are you scared that the walls are too high to be breached by the bold? Will you stand and be counted, or shut up and do what you're told? Hope over fear, don't be afraid. Tell Westminster Tories that Scotland's no longer your slave. Carpe diem, will you seize the day? Rip the chains from the unicorn, Scotland's no longer your slave. Let the TV man call you a nationalist for rejecting the lies. Are the wods of the few off the bob, cause they wear shorts and ties? When they tell you that Scotland's no great, are you really surprised? Will you stand and be counted for something that money can't buy? Hope over fear, don't be afraid. Tell Westminster Tories that Scotland's no longer your slave. Carpe diem, will you seize the day? Rip the chains from the unicorn, Scotland's no longer your slave. Happy that nuclear weapons are dumped on the Clyde, fighting wars for the wealth of the few. How many have died? You can bury my bones, but the truth of it can't be denied. Will you stand and be counted, 'cause I'll be there stood by your side. Hope over fear, don't be afraid. The Westminster Tories of Scotland's no longer your slave. Carpe diem, will you seize the day? With the change from the unicorn, Scotland's no longer your slave. Will the media tell you that England don't want you to go? And the taxpayer-funded MPs tell you just tell them no. No! But in Manchester, Nottingham, Sheffield, they already know that we're fighting for them, and it's only the start of the show. Ha ha! Hope over fear, don't be afraid. Tell Westminster Tories that Scotland's no longer your slave. Carpe diem, my friend, will you seize the day? With the change from the unicorn, Scotland's no longer your slave. Vote yes for a future. Hope over fear. Ha!
I saw you weeping outside the seat of power. As you reflected on Scotland's wilting flower, a new horizon was all that really mattered. But dawn had broken as dreams and hopes lay shattered. The storm grew Wednesday in the meadows. The troops were gathering as Alba's future led us. Sing freedom's anthems, all nations join together. We shall be heard, our chains released forever. Change are blowing, and careless on its way. A sea of soul tiles were sailing in the sky. Oh, proudly saying success, a bright new future rising. Lies and deceit from traitors was surprising. You showed the way and gave us inspiration. The seeds are sown to once more be a nation. Don't give up hoping, and I don't despair. The winds of change are blowing, and a careless on its way. Hear sound of dragons roaring. Hear sound of dragons roaring. Along the Taff 1,000 voices murmured, and in Caernarvon the ancient ramparts shuddered. A new beginning was on the verge of breaking. The mighty Wales was finally awaking. Hear sound of dragons roaring. Hear sound of dragons roaring. 5,000 came to Mìltean in the morning. Journeys begun before the day was dawning. Penderyn Square, home of our brave forefathers. Hear voices loud now of brothers, sisters, mothers. Wales, rise and be free. Don't be downhearted, there's no need to be sad. All marching neath one banner, be joyous and be glad. Our time is coming, we've broken down the door. And prisoners we no more. Hear sound of dragons roaring. Hear sound of dragons roaring. The chains that bind are finally being broken. The words long lost are proudly being spoken. The tide has turned, the circle now completed. The ruling classes at last will be defeated. Wales, rise and be free. Don't be downhearted, there's no need to be sad. All marching neath one banner, be joyous and be glad. Our time is coming, we've broken down
maiden would grind this mob with hate, with their ignorance and indifference. They were sure to take the bait. The bullets they pass against the violent mass. Jobs their sisters do, and held aloft the St. Andrew's cross, a flag of nationhood. Into Northridge, then Kymatiks, to the mob they show no fear, but they stood their ground and they cried out loud, the slaughter remains here. Well, the mob attacked and they kicked and spat on all those who disagree, or had campaigned through peaceful gain for a country to be free. Britannia hoard their numbers so they soiled the Scottish air, but they could not disarm these sisters in arms or drive them from the square. It took the police to intervene and march those girls away, and imprison them in the cells at night for what crime they would not say. For bold and firm against the violent mass, John said, sisters, love, and held aloft the St. Andrew's cross, a flag of nationhood. Into Northridge, Kymatiks, to the mob they showed no fear, but they stood their ground and they cried out loud, the slaughter remains here.
What's On guide to live stream events and shows is now available. You can find the guide on the web at indepencelive.net, on multiple Facebook pages, or go direct with the web link tvl.ink/What's On Guide. Hello, my name's Steve B and I'm a presenter on IndyLive Radio. I present music and musings every Friday night at 7. The music, that's 70s classic rock, although we will take the occasional side road. The musings, well, they're thoughts on Scottish independence, politics and world events from my viewpoint, which is that of a grumpy old man. So join me every Friday night at 7 on IndyLive Radio, a new voice for a new Scotland.
Hi, I'm Fiona from Clackmannanshire Women for Independence. Did you know we have a podcast on IndyLive Radio? Goes out at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, repeated at 6 o'clock on a Thursday. Come and join us for some news, views, opinions, the odd poem. Be very nice to have you with us. And come and hear the news you're not getting. Here's some new voices for a new Scotland at IndyLive Radio.
The What's On guide to live stream events and shows is now available. You can find the guide on the web at indepencelive.net, on multiple Facebook pages, or go direct with the web link tvl.ink/What's On Guide.
Film, you can watch this again, you can be part of it. It's Independence Live, yeah. A few people asked about YouTube. It'll be YouTube/Independence Live. That's where you'll find the footage.
What's On guide to live stream events and shows is now available. You can find the guide on the web at indepencelive.net, on multiple Facebook pages, or go direct with the web link tvl.ink/What's On Guide.
Hi there, I'm Cliff.
And I'm Russ.
And we're from the Veterans for Scottish Independence 2.0 group. And we're just invading your privacy today to let you know that we will be very shortly pushing a programme out on live stream to do with the veterans, their needs as it will be during an independent campaign. The next independence campaign, and indeed in an independent Scotland.
So get yourself in gear, come and join us, and pull up a sandbag.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Wherever you stand, get the fresh view of what's happening in Scotland with iScot. Celebrate everything about our country with intelligent, in-depth insight from lifestyle, culture to puzzles, and all the opinions you'll need. Whether it's digital or by post, subscribe now to iScot.